Well, hello, this is Gmodism sliding down the hill, and this is the third part of 3 of Gmodism's general ACF guide. And here we will go through ACF Armour, like this nice pieces, and also how to change sounds, because I believe I did not do that in the previous videos. So we will begin with changing sounds. Here you can see this lovely little turret that Nick has made a friend of mine in Garry's mod, and we want to change the turret sound, because the turret sounds like this now. Load, and like that, the default sound. But we want another sound. So how do we do that? Well, go into your construction and you will have ACF sound replacer. Well, that says itself. So open your sound browser. And here you will have the sounds. Now there are lots of different places where you can find sounds. You can actually use your own sounds if you want, or sounds from other games, as long as they are in well, WAV format. It's probably better. What is this? Weird. Well, whatever. We shall not listen to this. You can listen to every type of well, sound, if you like. But we, however, want to find the ACF, which is in 3 folders. Or yes, that's some other thing. The ACF stuff is in ACF engines, which we'll look at later. ACF Extra and ACF Other. Well, ACF Other is nothing useful, but ACF Extra, here you have some stuff you might want. Here we have lots of different aircraft vehicles, like different cockpits and all kinds of sound. And we have Michelin's FX. If you want sirens or stuff like that, you can find it here. And then there is Tank FX, which is a huge folder with different types of cannons and basically reload sounds and class threads, mud threads. I mean, there is an extensive amount of different sounds which you can use and change. So there is no need to use default sounds. But, however, there are other folders like weird laser. There are no lasers in ACF, but here we have, if you want to have a fake laser, that's a cannon but with a cool sound. You can have like this. Let's have with this laser sniper thing. Well, then we right click and set up sound emitter and close. Now notice that we have changed the wire sound emitter. That is because the ACF sound replacer is an extension of that wire tool actually. So then you just select the sound replacer again and you're ready to go. You can see it's loaded. Here it is. So you just left click the cannon. You can right click to copy sounds if you like to, but then you get inside, custom freeze, get inside, and you will hear the new sound. Like this. Now we have a railgun thing cannon with explosive shells. So this is a really weird sound for a cannon, but it sounds really fancy. But you can open your sound browser and on here in GNOME Father, I don't know why it's GNOME Father, maybe it's a developer. Here we also have an extensive amount of sounds. And well, we have even more on guns, where we have some of the default sounds. And we also have vehicle effects also, which we will be going through too. Because you can see here we have the Volvo. If you want to change sounds for the engines, well, then you open your sound browser. On vehicle effects you might find the most. Here we have different turbo hisses. And we also have, well, the different types of engines sounds, which are kind of, yeah, the startup sounds. There are different startup sounds. We also have different horns, if you like to use on your car. So you know, this comes with ACF, so it's nice. Idle, air brakes. Well, you can see there are lots and lots of starters. Here on starters you have a list of different starters. Tires, even more tire sounds. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, well. But we will go to engines, and we will select a... Let's go on Gnome Father. And select something nice. Maybe not. Maybe an i4. Here we have Hugo 4, off on idle. Cotania on low. Let's take that. Now, right click. Set up sound emitter and close. Change to your sound replacer. And that's the wrong. Wait. Inside here. Then hit the engine. Now you will not hear the default sound, but a custom sound. You hear? So, well, that's nice. That's all for the sound replacement. Now we will go through the ACF Armour. Here you can see I have spawned some different plates of the same size, but with the same, well, different size, but still the same. Well, no, wait. Same size, but different thickness. Because we firstly look at the Armour tool. If you go to construction, you have Armour properties. There is an extra kind of function with this if you want to check the whole mass of a vehicle. If we spawn this cannon again, and then we select Armour properties, we can press reload on some part, and then you will see that this has a total mass of 3000 kilos. And you can also look and see the individual armor on the different parts, which can be interesting. So you can see here, it might be easier to look at the tool as the text has some issues, but the tool's measuring things works perfectly fine if you just look at that. So we can see the cannon has 94 armor and health, but reload is to check. Now there is armor value, we can see here thickness. The armor thickness is decided of how many millimeters of shots the armor can stop. And that has nothing to do with the actual size of the prop. It doesn't matter. This value decides exactly how many millimeters it can penetrate. Now you see that this go up to like 5,000, and that's insane. Actually, I think you never use it. You never really use this over 500. 500 is immense thickness of armor. So I mean, you generally write in the values you want. Now docility, that is health. That's how many shots your prop or armor plate can take. So docility decides health, and the thickness decides how many millimeters it will be able to stop. Now you can have super high thickness and very low docility. Then the plate will only be able to take a few shots and then it will be destroyed, but it will stop the shots. If you however have like a very low thickness, like 66 is quite low for a front plate on the tank, but if you have the docility to very high, then it will take many shots, but it will only stop shots that have a armor penetration that's below this. But there is another thing that you will be aware of. The slope of the armor also decides. Like a very, very, very sloped plate like this, if a shot's hit, if it hits like this, as my, well, okay, you can see if you follow the shot like that, so if it were to go through the plate, then it will likely bounce off. We could have quite low armor on it, but with this sloping it would deflect the bullet. So if you want ricochet is the Swedish version, but that doesn't help you. But you know what I mean. If the bullet will bounce off, then you will take very little damage. Very little damage to your armor and to your health. When an ACF bullet hits an armor plate, it will be damaged in both health and armor. So a torn armor plate will also be able to take less penetration. Now, the interesting thing about thickness and docility. The thickness you set here, and it doesn't change depending on how thick the prop you hit are with the armor like properties. It doesn't really matter how thick it is. So we even spawn this as a super comparison also. But the thickness will actually decide how much docility or health your prop will have. Your armor plate's health is calculated of the volume of the armor plate. When you armor a vehicle in ACF, you want to use as large parts as you can, because if there is a little hole, your structural integrity of the tank is broken and the shot can be inside the tank and then blow off important parts or ammo boxes even. So you want to use as large plates as possible, but also with a high armor rating and high health. I mean, this is hard. Front plates you want to have high health, and side plates you want to have lower health to save some weight, because this will weigh very much. ACF armor weighs very much. So basically you will have thick armor when you are like taking a frontal hit from a shot. Front hits needs thick armor, but if this is a side of a tank, like this plate is a side of a tank like this, so this is the forward and this is the side, and you will oftenly face your enemies. That means that a shot will bounce off here. It will like bounce off because there's you can see when you basically face a tank forward, this will be very sloped. That means that side plates also doesn't need very much docility, but it needs some armor, like 50 at least, but the docility doesn't need to be that high because you do not expect to get hit on the side many times. That you can have more armor on your frontal plate. Like if this is a frontal plate of your tank, then you can put all that health and stuff in here, and you will even though the side plates are not too armored, you will take the most hit here, so then you will be able to survive longer in the long run. So that's a nice thing. And also when you armor your things, you parent them to a ship. And don't ask me why it's a ship. It's just if you parent it to a prop, you can't really change the color and the armor. I don't even think the armor works, so you must parent to ship, but we will go through that soon. But however, the health is calculated of the volume of your plate. So we will be set a different armor types, and now you can see what did I spawn? It was this. So we will go and have the color tool, and we will have the high health, like props, we will color red, like that, so we will know. And then we will have the high armor plates, we will color green, like that, or no, not really. We just leave them uncolored, like the high armor. And then we will begin with having ACF armor properties. So high armor, exactly. Let's set a quite high armor, like 200, but very low health. Set it here, set one there, set one there, set one there, like that. And now we will make a as thick, half as thick, but quite dissolved, to do quite much health. It's better word. Put down the health buttons here. And now, if we go, you can see that, the mass of this is 5,000. The armor is 100 and the health is 361, which is very high. If we, however, look at the same prop that covers as much area, you can see that the mass, much smaller, armor, the same, health 246, still very good. If you look at this one, you can see that the weight is slightly smaller and the health is also slightly less, but the armor is the same. The super thin one, you can see the mass slightly smaller again, and also the health. But the very interesting thing, when you go to the high armor, low health props, you could say that these are red, high salty armor. You can call them for expected hit plates, and these with very low health but high armor, you can call them for, well, not expected to hit plates. Or, well, that's very long, but it tells the tale of them. They are not meant to be hit very many times, but if they get hit, they will deflect a bullet. Anyways, looking at these, you can see that they have a mass that's, well, it's smaller, but also the health is like 40, that's nothing. And here we have health 27. That's not much, but the armor is quite high. And the next one, health 25. It's super low, but it will deflect one shot. And here we have health 24. You can see, not very much difference between these ones, but the volume difference is not too big either. Now, we will go inside this little turret and I neatly line them up. And this, let's go and check. You can see we have armor piercing high explosive with a max penetration of 101 millimeters. It's a quite decent cannon, but we will first shoot at the thicker plates. And this is the red high health plates with 100 armor. Now this should go right through, right? Well, not really, because this has a slope now. It's sloped, and then it's also a bit thicker, or calculated as. As you can see, that shot even bounced off. Some of them do, and then the damage will not be too high. If, however, you will need to repair, then you go to weapons, and now I have lots of crap here. Other. ACF cutting torch. Left click and you will repair it. You can see that both the health and armor was damaged. You can also destroy it by right clicking. That's very slow though, but just a principle. Okay, let's go inside. This is the 200 millimeter armor with very low health. You can see it took one shot, but you can see even from here it is damaged. but only a bit. Maybe the armor deflected the shot. When they do, not much damage happened. Or, well, it exploded right on, but even though it's only have 40 health, it's not super little. Like that. Now we took a couple of rounds on it, and you can see that the armor is only 139, and the health is halved. If we take a couple of more shots, we would be able to destroy it completely. When the armor is lower than our 200, well, then it can't stand the cannon's armor penetration and it will be able to penetrate. You can see it as if you hack a hole, like in a wall. If you take a hammer and pick a hole in your wall, you won't be able to penetrate at the first shot, but as you get further in the wall, you will eventually get through. It's the same way. When you shoot, the armor decreases and you will have an easier time penetrating. And if you can bring them down to a low armor as well as a low health. When the armor is very low, you might even shoot through. But when the armor also is lower than your penetration, you will also damage more with your explosive. Well, here is the higher. This is the plate with high health and 100 armor. You can see it can take some. This, however, it should be able to take a few shots. It should also be destroyed faster. But it's more clearer on the really thin plates. Here you can see, very thin plate. But as it has high health, it can still take a few shots. Even though its armor penetration is slightly less than our gun, it has a slope. You can see, it serves us well. This is the super low health, high armor plate. If we shoot a couple of rounds of this one, it will actually be destroyed. But maybe this slope is to its health. Let's check on it now. Well, the armor is still thumping, but the health has gone very low. So let's actually line this up without any slope. Like that. We take it. Right, straight frontal. And then we take this as comparison. And we will put them at a very, very, very sharp slope. And it will ricochet very often. So let's get in here and fire. Now, straight frontal hit, no slope, direct explosion, destroyed. This, you can see, you saw that little glittery thing in the background. Now I don't know if this is visible on this wall. Whatever, it did penetrate. It did penetrate. I saw that. So let's have our cutting torch. And, well, you can see. However, when you penetrate a plate, it doesn't do very much damage to the plate. But it doesn't really matter, as if you penetrate a plate and hit what's behind it, well, if it's a seat, the person inside will die. If it's something else, well, it's kind of either you will have explosive thing to destroy the plates completely and then destroy the things inside, or you can aha, let's see here. Oops, no. Oh. Well, either you will destroy the armor plates by having a explosive combination and try to tear it down, and then shoot the things inside, or you have an armor piercing and you aim to shoot through the armor to hit things behind. Okay, so if we shoot here, it does penetrate, and here you can see we hit the barrel behind it, because we have now an armor penetration much higher than, well, this plate, or actually 1 millimeter higher, but as we damage this, it is now higher. Like now. You can go and see if we have ACF cutting torch, you can see that the armor is only 50 millimeters, so now you can penetrate with a 50 millimeter gun. Well, let's put this off the grid. Now, this really sharply angled slopes, this is 200 millimeters, this is 100 millimeter. You can see ricochet right up in the mountains. Do it again. And this will happen like every time, because this is so sloped. And actually, we will go and repair it. This one too, it was repaired, okay. We will go inside and we will take hit. Now that wasn't a ricochet, which is unusual. Oh, end of ammo. Well, anyways, let's go and check. You can see the armor is only 5% less, even though it was a right-on explosion. If you go to this, you can see that the armor is almost all of it, and the health is almost not even changed. And that's what's a ricochet, which does make it to take even less or almost no damage. Well, let's spawn one of Nick's larger turrets, like this one. Okay, so here we have armor piercing high explosive again, with the armor penetration of 167. So, as we have so much sloped armor, it should be able to take some blasts anyways. Okay, reloading up and fire. Oh yes, no problem. This one has less armor, then this should be able to penetrate, but this extreme slope made it bounce, even though this red plate only has 100mm and we shoot with 167 penetration. However, now, where are you? Here. This is a large gun, and it deals a bit more damage, but not really much. Not really much. If we go in here again and shoot point on, you'll see that was a definite penetration. And now the health should be quite much, or quite low, I mean. One shot more and it will be almost destroyed. Well, not really. Not really. But the health is severely damaged as it penetrates and all that. Now, my friends, we will do some simple weapon or armor testing, I mean. Well, here you can see I've taken forward some plates here with 100 armor, 50 armor, now it's lagged up, and 30 armor. And, well, the health is set accordingly. So all of these plates weigh around 500 to 600 units. I don't know. Is there kilos or pounds or whatever? But anyways, we will test. This is a high explosive. This is a turret that Nick also built. You could call him my turret builder. So, fire. You can see that the 100mm can take some shots, even though the health is very low, it still can take very many shots, because as you can see, they are deflected. It doesn't do too much damage to this thing. Even though the health is only 12, the armor is so high that it doesn't really matter. Here we have health of 50 and the armor of, well, 50. Oops. Okay, we are reloading. Oh, look, we blew it away. Even though this plate had more health, the armor couldn't really take it. That's this 30 armor. Well, a few shots. The health is very high, the armor is very low, but as the health is so high, it can still take some shots. So you can see that this 100mm with very low health, or this 30mm with very high health, is better choices than the middle 50-50 choice. So that's something to think about, because the explosives works in this way. Explosive shells can be a bit hard to understand. The explosive destroys health very easily, but also armor. And now this is a bit weird. You can't have super low armor and super much health, because the explosive would shred that to pieces. But if you have a bit of armor and still much health, the explosive will have a hard time really damaging it, as the armor is quite heavy to defend from high explosive. You see that explosive doesn't have any armor penetration. It explodes on spot. So that's also armor piercing high explosive is a very dangerous shell, as it can penetrate a bit and then explode. Or explode and penetrate. You can see that the explosive is a very dangerous shell that's kind of hard to defend yourself against, but either you have to have really much armor and still some health. If you have no health, you can see this is only machine guns, but if you come with a mortar with explosive, if you don't have any health, your armor will be ignored and everything will blow up also. So it's a thin balance. But here we have some examples. This is 209 health, and we should actually use this tool. So you can see that the mass is 32, nothing, armor 1, health 209. I mean 209, that's quite much. It should be able to withstand a machine gun. No. This is a mass of 160, armor 5, same health. Same health. Just a little bit more armor. 5 to 1. Here we have the default prop. The default prop has a mass of 250, armor of 10 and health of 116. So you can see that, well, maybe it could withstand some. Here we have 200, well, it's basically the same weight, armor of 20, doubled, but a health that's very little. You can see only 34. Here we have a armor of 30 instead, a bit higher mass and, well, only 23 in health. So let's take our little cannon and we should be able to show off. No armor. Died on spot. Well, this was the... excuse me. Oh yes, of course. That was the 1 armor. This is the 5 armor in orange. So you can see, deflect some shots, but in the end it goes down. Here we have the default prop. 10 armor. You can see it deflects shots. You can see they bounce all around. And it still has some health. but you can see it's clearly damaged, and just a few shots more, even though they bounce off, some of them explode and it's destroyed. 20 armor, that's quite much, not too much health, but you can see this has a much better chance, not really as good, so you can see that the base prop is actually a bit better. 30 armor on the other hand, and remember this has a bit higher, a slight bit higher weight, like 100 kills almost, so this should be a bit tougher. And you can see it does take some time to destroy. So, that said, 20, 30, 10 armor and as much health you can have is kind of good. I wanted to do this refrigerator test because it's the same for tank wheels. You can't have loads of health on your tank wheels and no armor. Even though the tank wheels are spherical, when you put on spherical properties, make spherical, it's called, make spherical, yes, then you will make the wheel to sphere, and that will be the explosion box also for the ACF. Now, I just spawned my super ugly cassette tank because I know it, so I can talk about all of the armor parts. Okay, now we go to our armor properties, and now you can see that the wheels have a mass of 300, not too much, but an armor of 15. Thus we have a health that's around 100. So it can withstand some shots, which is nice, but not too much. As I said when I built this tank, this is a front battle tank. That means that this plate is the most important of them all, or those two. With the armor of 100 and a health of, well, 170, it will take a couple of shots. So we also have this plate, which has a low health, but kind of, or not low health, it's a decent health, because this is also expected to get hit. This plate, well, it's not really much expected to be hit, so the health is a bit lower here. However, here you can see the top plate. I mean, what's the chance that another tank will come from above and shoot right down? Almost none. That means all the hits of this plate will be kind of in this angle, which makes it's enough with 20 armor. Now the health is really high on this, and that's because when the explosions occur on this front plate here, the explosion will kind of affect this plate also, which means it's good to have a high health, as this plate is so big that if this would be destroyed, it would be kind of not very good. And you can see here we have a little plate that's also 100 armor, but not very much health. Only 17 health. That's because it's not likely to get too many hits right on this one, and I wanted to keep a high armor in comparison with the weight. Here we have an armor of 20, the same as the top plate. The side plates are also 20 and also have some health, but the side plates are not meant to get hit right on. Well, this is only meant to be defended against machine guns all around, but on the front, it's a front battle tank. So that's some of the, well, how to armor stuff, but we will be testing the wheels with this 4 heavy machine gun, 40mm. We can actually test it with this little lighter thing. You can see that if we shoot on the front of the tank, it will kind of bounce off. But also if we shoot on the side. Ha! Now that was only show props for fake tracks, but well, the explosives do some damage. Now this is a more heavy. Fire, fire. And we can try to shoot off wheels. Because when you're in a tank battle, you will hope that your enemies will not have armored their wheels anything, and you can then destroy their wheels. So, we can see that even though it has 15 armor, with a couple of rounds of 4 heavy machine guns, we can shoot them off. However, this armor, which is angled and not spherical like the wheels are able to deflect anyways. But so you know that the purpose of armor is not only to deflect, it's also to be able to protect yourself from explosive forces that otherwise will tear your props into pieces if they have no armor. So that basically is something good to understand, that you don't have armor completely only to deflect, but also to protect the prop itself. It may be a bit of the same thing, but well, you might understand that if you have a point-on plate, you need to have armor on it, because otherwise you will shoot through. But you want to be able to deflect if you have it in angles, but also if you have direct hits with explosives, you want to have some armor so that the high health that you have will not be totally wasted. But high explosive is very powerful against wheels. Now we can see that we shot off all the wheels and kind of disabled this tank. Well, of course, front-on hit, which most tanks are armored for, is almost futile. But when you battle a tank, you want to aim at the wheels, or if you can, get around and shoot it from behind or at the sides, which is mostly not very good targeted. Also, almost no one in Garry's mod armor their tops very much, so if you could make a telescope gun that would like and shoot down, that would be amazing. Well, I do believe that I have gone through everything that I kind of wanted to do, so I say we call off this tutorial, and I hope you learned something new in this armor and sound changing part. The third part of 3 in the basic general ACF tutorial series. 1 to 3. First, mobility, gearbox, fuel. Second, we have the guns and ammo, and here we have the sounds and armor. Weird mix, but it works. So, until next time, this is Gmodism, Total Nerdy Channel out. And if you, right there, like you, have not subscribed, consider doing that and support the little channel here, and we will hopefully be able to grow together and spread the fantastic building community of Garry's mod. But anyways, be kind and like the video also, and I will see you next time, I hope. Well, this is Gmodism, Total Nerdy Channel officially out.